Want to make movies? Hey there, aspiring filmmakers. You're the new Hollywood generation. My name is Orlando Delbert. This is Hollywood Unapologetic. I first wrote about success in filmmaking and life when I was writing Pollyanna's tear-soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical. Today I wanted to speak about filmmaking essentials, the price of success in filmmaking. For you, the new Hollywood generation, this directly applies to you. Wanted to continue from where the last episode left off, and if you haven't watched Filmmaker Motivation, I'll have a link at the end of the episode for you to check out. When I asked in the last episode, how do you keep motivated? I wanted you to think about what keeps you going, pushing forward towards your dream, and if you influence others to do the same. Please keep this in mind when I ask you, what sacrifices are you willing to pay to get what you want in life? What price are you willing to pay to achieve your goals and aspirations? There is a very basic part of life I see so many young people not fully accept, is that sacrifice is part of life. No matter what you aspire to be, to get there, you have to put up something you're willing to risk. Sacrifice goes hand in hand with success. What you have to sacrifice varies from person to person and will change at different points of your life. Without a doubt, understanding this will help you be more, be great, and even force the dead weight in your life to stop holding you down. This is true in any field or endeavor you're a part of. Sure, the entertainment world is hard enough with a high level of toxicity and sharks in suits in every turn, trying to steal from you and do you harm. But knowing going in, there has to be sacrifices, things to let go to achieve your potential, not only makes the path easier to walk on, but also far more rewarding when you get there. I want to hear from you. Please comment below. I want to know what sacrifices you have had to make to keep pushing forwards towards success. What sacrifices have you made to achieve your dreams? And let me ask you, what are you afraid of? Think about this for a moment and be honest with yourself. Here's the thing. The fear of taking risks and walking into the great unknown can be quite debilitating. For others, the fear of success unleashes your fight or flight response and you self-sabotage yourself to fail. Fear can be the single strongest obstacle to overcome for success. Fear is a dream killer. You have to demand of yourself to not be afraid because success demands the same of you. It is impossible to fully be successful if fear is keeping you from your desired objectives. Are you willing to let go to overcome your fears so that you can be passionate about chasing your dreams? When you remove the fear of uncertainty, the fear of change, the fear of failure, even the fear of success, you have sacrificed a huge crutch in your life. To remove these fears, you have to fully accept the fact to achieve any kind of success in your life, there is no room for fear. Fear and success will never work together. For me, the fear part never existed in business and my career. For me, the real challenge was deciding what my game plan was going to be and to remain committed to follow that path. Success demands an unwavering commitment from you, period, for each one of us. Success demands a sacrifice of your time. You have to be willing to stay with your schedule, stay with your plan, and not get sidetracked by anything. I speak about the importance of planning throughout this series, but keeping to that plan will make or break your success. Something I learned the hard way over the years. You can schedule family time, gym time, sleep time, everything in your day, but there will always be only 24 hours in your day. You have to assess what truly matters, prioritize, and be willing to give up something. You have to be disciplined and be accountable for your actions and inactions. And this all translates to allocating time and giving up something in the process. When I was a studio musician in New York, it was difficult keeping a positive relationship. Oftentimes, we would be out to dinner and I would get a call to do a session that same evening. Not many of the women I dated fully understood that our business doesn't run between 9 to 5, but I had to do what I had to do to be successful at the price of less time with those who I cared about, and in the end, they didn't stick around. That discipline to stay on a fixed plan helped my success then, but also to my benefit in my time in Los Angeles. I went much further than most in the Hollywood trenches, but at what cost, at what sacrifice? Most of the women I dated here were also in the business, many of which understood the long hours, but the more successful I became, the less free time I had. Sleep turned into passing out for an hour or two at best a night for many years, and even today, I never sleep a full night, but I'm often up overnight when the rest of the world is asleep. But the sacrifices I was willing to make was all part of a larger plan to retire young, own property internationally, and having multiple passive income streams for a better quality of life. My overall goal was to have all of this to still be young enough to have a family. To me, this was the definition of success, and it still is. This is far more important than chasing a little bit of short-term money and micro-celebrity so many young people want these days. And that took discipline and a plan that spanned decades. Are you willing to make that kind of commitment? Are you willing to make the commitment to take consistent actions every single day, no matter what? Life is hard. It's supposed to be hard, but I live entirely on my own terms. I decided as a young teenager, I would persevere and keep moving forward. Even at a young age, I was driven and wanted more. We were poor, and I decided, I think I was around 9 or 10, I wanted to offer a life for my children better than what I had. I decided I was willing to sacrifice myself so that my family would have a better quality of life than I had. I mean, how many 10-year-olds think like that? But those hard times back then helped shape me to be driven to be successful. I accepted failure is not an option. Of course, didn't always line up. But failure is giving up. I never give up. I'm a damn machine. And here's a little secret. Just like life, filmmaking is riddled with problems. That's why you hear me say filmmaking is life. So much of your time and energy is problem solving. It is inevitable things won't line up. Things will break down. And in LA, you have so many additional headaches to deal with daily. Things will break down. Projects will break down. People steal your ideas, your money. It sucks. The entertainment world is full of people who refuse to be accountable for anything, especially in Los Angeles. That just complicates things more. But you have to ask yourself, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be a filmmaker, a successful filmmaker? My wanting to be a success in this building meant believing failure was not an option. It was my deciding that no matter what, how many hits I took, it just didn't matter. Circumstance is just what it is. So what? If it doesn't kill me, I brush it aside, walk around it, over it, whatever, to just keep going. It's up to you to decide what the circumstances in your life are, obstacles or not. When mentioning earlier about being accountable, part of that is not making excuses. Accountability is a rare commodity today. Being accountable for your thoughts and actions are at the core of success. Believe it. Decide your goal. Decide how you're going to get there and demand of yourself to own everything good and bad. Get out of the mindset of blaming others or being regretful of things that didn't pan out. Something didn't work out, so what? Next. Change your tactic and start again. Once you start moving, you lose momentum. It becomes easy for many to blame others for things out of his or her control. Be responsible for your actions and inactions. And here's something that was hard for me to understand. The more successful I became, the more spiteful some people became. Many longtime friendships were cut off overnight. Sometimes people I hardly knew wanted to ride the success wave with me, causing me to keep an eye on what their motives really were. A very tiring thing, I can assure you. Dating became a very bizarre world in itself. Women asking me on a first date what my portfolio looked like, value of the car I drove, and so forth. Women have even told me they were looking for a man who would make at least $250,000 a year. Good luck with that chicken head. But the question remains, what sacrifices are you willing to pay to get what you want in life? What prices are you willing to pay to achieve your goals and aspirations? And do your answers line up with how bad do you want to be a filmmaker, a successful filmmaker? You have to decide one way or another whether you are prepared for the commitment, the time, the energy, and sacrifices to achieving your goal. Are you willing to pay the price to get there? As I said that, it reminded me how so many young people are short-term thinkers. They only see what's directly in front of them and make his or her decisions on the immediacy of a possible payoff. What comes later is often not thought about enough or not taken seriously enough. To be a success, you must be sure that the long-term benefits far outweigh any immediate short-term payoff. What I mean by that is simply, will your thoughts and actions serve you and your plans in 10 or more years far better than tomorrow or the next day? You have to be clear in what your goal is. You need to be clear in what you want to achieve your goal. If reaching your goal is for just fame and money, good luck with that. Sure, you may acquire both fame and money, but without the other parts of a full life, which is really the greater part of success, you can be miserable and alone. I've had my share of this misery, and I've seen many people crash and burn, losing everyone and everything in their lives, sometimes with tragic ends. Part of my deciding to do this series was to give forward. I've always said, if I'm able to help someone stay clear of avoidable hardships and be a true success with everything that comes along with it, I've served my purpose. I mention this because it's important to me to be mindful of the impact my goal will be to others. It's not an easy thing to always keep in perspective the hundreds of projects I've been part of and how they may influence generations. And for those of us that are content creators, you and I have a responsibility larger than just of ourselves. We must ask ourselves, how will my achieving my dreams affect the people in my life? How will my achieving my dreams affect others outside my direct circle, emotionally and socially? And what about economically? When I first wrote about the new Hollywood generation more than a decade ago, I saw lots of parallels developing with the world that we saw at the end of the 60s into the mid-70s. Armed conflicts, assassinations, lying political figures all helped the growing distrust in the government grow. And the films being made by younger, just out of film school, filmmakers outside of the studio system reflected that. We see today some of the same things playing out. So as an aspiring filmmaker, will your dreams affect the populace or even influence on a global scale a change in the mindset of the people? It's a lot to think about, huh? I'm going to add a link at the very end of this episode, Motivation, Filmmaker Motivation. If you haven't checked it out, I think you'll dig it. And remember, life is about following your dreams and the hustle you're willing to do to get there. There are no handouts in life. There are no shortcuts in life. Filmmaking is life. Storytelling is life. So the question remains, what sacrifices are you willing to pay to get what you want in life?